When was the last time you felt at peace? In today's world where we're constantly being fed information and random stuff that really doesn't matter, it's kind of hard to get moments of peace and quiet. There's always more stress and more ideas and more thoughts floating around in our heads. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's one method I know that works very well to quiet the mind, and it's meditation. Now, meditation has a bad rep for being exclusively for Buddhist monks or people trying to achieve enlightenment, but I can assure you that's not what it's all about. Really, what meditation is all about is just clearing out your mind from all the thoughts that don't really matter. You ever think about something, and you think about how you thought about it, and you're like, man, that really has no purpose in my mind. That serves zero purpose in my mind. That's the stuff we're trying to get rid of with meditation. And I think we can all agree that in today's world, clearing out our minds from excess random thoughts is more important than ever. So after hearing about all this, I figured that I would try out meditation for myself. I found a video, which I will link in the description below, and basically it mentions a study that found that a 17-minute baseline was the best for meditation. Everybody should meditate for 17 minutes a day. And I figured, okay, if I want to try meditation, I might as well do the right amount. So I just, upped it a little bit to 20 minutes because, first few minutes, I guess you're not really focused or whatever. And at this point, I'd never meditated for that long. At most, it'd been like 5, maybe 10 minutes. But I was willing to try out this new method. And I'm glad to say that starting meditation, especially 20 minutes of meditation every morning, has probably been the best thing I've done all month. It's literally an essential part of my routine now. I can't imagine replacing it. So before we get into this video and explain what I learned about meditation, what you can learn from what I've learned, I want to preface this by saying that I do know a little bit about meditation. I've practiced it a little bit before in the past, but nothing as serious as 20 minutes. I've also read this book, Declutter Your Mind, not the whole way through, but I've started it, and it talks a bit about meditation in the first few chapters. So I'd recommend that book if you're thinking about starting meditation, but you don't have to. You can just start on your own. So, the reason you watch this video, you could look online and see what all the experts have to say about meditation and all the monks and stuff like that, and they're gonna say, oh, it's good. It's like, yeah, I kinda expected you to say that. So you could watch that, or you could listen to me, a complete meditation, rookie, and see what I have to say about it. Because if I say it's good, and I've never tried it that much before, then it's gotta be good. That means it's gonna be good for you. So, without any further ado, let's get into what I learned from meditating every morning for a week. Day 1. So after I watched that video, which I linked in the description, I was really eager to try out meditation. The very next day, I got to it. I grabbed a little notebook for myself to write down my experiences. I sat cross-legged on my bed in the lotus position. I set a timer on my watch right here, set it for 20 minutes, and then when it would go off, I would get up. And I closed my eyes to start my first meditation session. And I'll be honest, this first session wasn't that amazing. If you try out meditation, I'm sure yours will be the same way. It's really nothing super special. I mean, for the first 15 minutes or so, I felt like I was just sitting there, not doing anything. And that feels a little weird at first when you try it. But after 15 minutes, I did actually notice I started feeling a bit more calm. I feel like things were a bit more quiet. It's hard to explain, but when you don't have a million thoughts racing around in your head, it sounds a lot more quiet. It was a good enough feeling to convince me to keep going to the second day. Day 2. So the second session started off pretty much the same way as the first one. It was kind of noisy still, and didn't really have any specific focus to it or anything. But then again, as soon as I got to about 10 or 15 minutes, things just started getting a lot more quiet. I feel like my mind just wasn't wandering as much, and I literally wrote it down in my book here. I wrote it down in my book. I said, towards the end, everything got so quiet. And that's really just the best way to describe it. There's no noise, it's just silence. You just feel a bit in the moment, and it's a very nice feeling. And the only bad thing that I wrote down about this day was my posture. I sat in a very uncomfortable position and it hurt my back. So if you're doing meditation, make sure you're in a comfortable position. Do not hurt your back. If you're hurting your back and you're like this or something while you're meditating, you're doing it the wrong way. You're supposed to be comfortable. Not comfortable enough to where you fall asleep, which I have done in the past. That's why I sit in the lotus position, because I have fallen asleep. But you want to be comfortable enough to where you're not hurting yourself. Day 3. So by this point, I was starting to get a bit more familiar with meditation. It was basically like a part of my routine now, you know? And I was also getting used to that feeling of like quietness and tranquility, and I was liking it. It was a good part of my morning. And I feel like I was starting to get a little bit more able to focus a bit more on my breath too, which is, of course, a good thing for meditation. So the only bad thing about this day is that there are quite a few distractions going on in my house, like, just random noises going on, and it was kind of distracting. It would pull my attention away from the meditation, so it wasn't as focused as a meditation. But that brings in one of my first lessons I learned from meditation, and that's the best time of the day to meditate is the time when you won't be interrupted. I do it in the morning personally, like as soon as I wake up, but if you're not a morning person and you wake up later and your other family members are up doing stuff and you think they're gonna barge into your room or whatever, don't do it then. Just wait till the afternoon, or maybe even the evening, 'cause if you meditate in the evening, it'll help you sleep, and that'll be nice too. But yeah, the best time of the day to meditate is the time when you won't be interrupted. And despite these interruptions, I marked down in my little journal here that I still had some focus, so progress was still definitely being made, and that convinced me to move on to day 4. So on day 4, I wrote that my mind was still wandering a little, and even after, I'll spoil this a little, even after the 7 days of meditation, my mind still wanders a little sometimes. In the first, 5, 10, sometimes even 15 minutes, it feels like I'm just wasting my time, and my mind is just wandering everywhere, but I know that it's a good practice to get into. It's just some days, maybe you didn't sleep right or something, or you're just really tired, and you just don't have as much focus as you normally do, and that's okay. The real idea with meditation is just to try and empty your thoughts. Even if you can't get all the noise out of your head and it still seems a little crowded in there, just trying to put in the effort and make it a habit to meditate will definitely help you a lot in the long run. And here's another thing that I learned. If you can't make it to the 15 or 20 minutes in meditation, then you probably shouldn't even try at all. Because I know when I used to meditate, for really short sessions, 5 minutes, it really wouldn't do anything. I kind of just sit there. It'd be a nice break from if I was doing work, because I wouldn't be doing work, I'd just be sitting there relaxing. But it's really, you don't get that focus and that tranquility unless you make it to 15 or 20 minutes. So if there's one thing you learned from this video, it's that you should meditate for 15 to 20 minutes. Don't just go for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, because that's really not going to help you. You're not going to get the benefit of the added, silence and calmness. So here on day 4, although I did have some distractions, I wrote down that I felt some moments of true peace and silence, which is quite nice. And that's the thing about meditation. Even if you're not totally focused in on your breathing the entire time, which is really hard to do, you're still spending time emptying your mind, and that time that you're spent, sitting and relaxing is better than time spent, scrolling on your phone or trying to do work or stressing yourself out about your day. So yeah, even if you can't reach that full focus on your breath or whatever, it's still a good idea just to practice it. Day 5. So by this point, this is where my progress really started showing. I even wrote down after my session, I wrote with an exclamation mark, significant progress. I also wrote that I finally found a comfortable position to sit in, which is very, very important. If you think about it, if you have an uncomfortable position and you're sitting in that position for 20 minutes, your brain is always going to have that subconscious feeling like, ugh, I'm uncomfortable right now. I wish I could change position. But if you're trying to meditate, you don't really want to be thinking about that. So yeah, finding a comfortable position before you start is a very important part of meditation. And the only really bad thing from this session was that I lost my focus. The thing about meditation is that when your mind is so empty and you're so tranquil or whatever, your brain is, empty. So if you have a thought, it's oh, that's the only thought in my mind right now. It's one of the only thoughts floating around in there. So then if you're wait, that's a bad thought, I don't want that, it's a distracting thought. It's okay, well now I gotta try and pull that out of here. It's it's the only thing in there, so it's like taking up your entire headspace. So that's the only bad thing. When you're meditating, after you meditate, I think you should fill your mind with, positive thoughts or whatever you want to learn. Me personally, I take like notes, or I do like schoolwork or studying or something. Whatever you want to do, I'd recommend you do it after meditation, because your mind will be completely empty, there won't be any random thoughts in there, so you can focus completely on taking in information, and it'll probably stick a lot better in your mind too. So yeah, take notes after meditation. Day 6. So this day was a bit different because instead of meditating directly after I woke up, because usually I wake up, I'll brush my teeth, freshen up, all that, maybe I'll have like a little like fruit or something for breakfast, and then I'll go to meditation. Instead I was doing a couple tasks beforehand, just to see, test things out, see how it went, and I would not recommend this, me personally, because it kind of just made my brain a bit more distracted, and I didn't really get as much focus as I felt I had the previous day. But then again, that could be from, other factors like sleep, and there's like a million different reasons. But still, even with this distraction, by the end I had like a sharp mind, and I think I wrote that down here too. Near the end, extreme focus. And at this point, I think I'll be honest, I was starting to get pretty good at meditation. At least, I think I was. I'm not like an expert or anything. I haven't been doing this for years, so maybe meditation experts will tell me I'm not that good yet, but I was thinking I was getting pretty good. At least for only 6 days, I'd say I was getting pretty good at this. And here I'll share one of the tactics that works for me to help me keep my focus, because it can be kind of hard to just focus on your breathing for, 20 minutes at a time. So mine's really simple. If I feel like my mind keeps wandering, I just say to myself, it's like I think it's called a mantra or something. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. It helps you just keep your mind focused. You just keep saying like a word or a phrase over and over in your head. And mine's really simple. I just say focus. So if I feel like I'm losing my focus, or I'm not focusing as much as I should be on my breath, I just say to myself, focus, focus, in my head. And it works for me. Help me bring my attention back to my breathing. And yeah, you can try it out with a different phrase if you'd like, but for me, that's what worked. Day 7. So here's the big day number 7 of meditation. And you'd think that today I would be the best at meditation, I'd be the most calm and the most focused, but that's not how it was. I had a big task coming up after my meditation, and I'll be completely honest, it kind of ate up on my focus. I definitely wasn't as focused as I was on day 5, and I kept thinking about the big task, and I just couldn't seem to draw my attention away from it. So it was a lot less focus on my breath, and a lot more focus on this big task I had at hand. I was kind of just thinking about it the whole time. But here's the strange thing. Even after my meditation, where I wasn't able to focus as much as I wanted to, I still went and did the task very focused. So even though my meditation wasn't super focused, I was a lot more focused on doing the task. So I think it just outlines another benefit of meditation. Even if you can't fully focus on your meditation session that you're in, just the fact that you sat down and focused on your breathing and was calm for a minute, it helps you with another task that you're trying to do, or multiple tasks, It just helps you go through your day more efficiently, and from my experience. So, now that you've seen me go through my 7 days of meditation, it's time to review all the benefits that I noted. Let's start. Number 1, better focus. After I went to do any tasks after my meditation, I just felt a lot more sense of being in the moment and being able to focus a lot more. There's less distractions floating around in my mind, and I was able to focus a lot more on the task at hand. Number 2, feeling of calmness or tranquility. After I meditated, everything felt a lot more quiet, and I felt a lot more calm, and anything that I was worried about really didn't seem like as much of a problem. Number 3, an emptied mind. After my meditation, my mind would be pretty empty from any wandering thoughts, and in addition to helping me with my focus, I'd also be able to take in new information very well. So if you're planning on, studying or doing some, self-reflection or reading or anything like that, anything where you want to take in new information, I'd recommend that you do it after your meditation. Number 4, more ideas. Now, I didn't write this one down specifically in my journal, but I kind of felt it as I went through the day that I would just have more ideas. Like, random ideas would just pop into my head and I'd be like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. And I haven't really seen too much talked about this when I looked up meditation benefits or whatever, but I was just able to have more good random ideas. Like if I had a brainstorming session for something, I would be able to think of a lot of good ideas when before I would only get like a few. And I'm guessing that's because your mind is more empty and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty cool benefit. And finally, number 5, memory recall. Now this was one that I definitely haven't really seen online, and maybe this is just a me thing. I kind of hope it's not because it's really cool, but after my meditation, like throughout the day, I would just be able to remember things really well. Like I would be just, like I would think about a friend or something, and then I would just get like a flash memory of like 5 years ago with that friend, and we're at like one specific event. I'm like, wow, that feels like it just happened like last week. So I don't know if this is like just me or something, but it was really cool because it was a very vivid memory, and I enjoyed getting these memories. It was a nice little flashback. And that's it for all the benefits I've found so far. I've heard there might be many more, but maybe I haven't like unlocked those yet. Maybe I need to like level up my meditation to unlock those ones. Now, I mean, I'm not biased or anything, and I won't tell you if you should or you shouldn't meditate every single day, but I think you should at least just try it once. Just try it once. Just one day, set a time, like 20 minutes or more if you want to, if you're really into that, and just focus on meditating. You know, you can do a little research beforehand if you want on how to do whatever, but really it's just sitting there and being quiet and focusing on your breath. I encourage you just to try it once. I'm not telling you gotta do it for a week, just once. Because remember from my day one, I had all those benefits of being like a quiet mind and more focused. Doesn't that sound great? I mean, if I was you, I'd want to try it, I'm just saying. And besides, if you've made it through this entire video, then you're probably interested in meditating anyway, so you might as well just try it out. And especially if you made it to the end of the video. I mean, if you made it to this whole thing, hearing me talk about how great it is, then you're definitely looking to try it out, so just try it. And that's it. That's everything that I learned from my 7 days of meditation. I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you learned something from it. I hope you got a new idea that you can try in your routine, and I hope this impacted you in some way. Feel free to subscribe if you want more insights or ideas from my other videos, or check out some of the other videos I've made before. And aside from that, I think that's about it. Thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I will see you later. Bye!